My name is Haki Shakur. I'm a New African Revolutionary Nationalist. I'm a part of the New African Independence Movement. I'm a close comrade of Shaka Shakur. I'm also a part of the August 3rd Collective. I've also done work with the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement and several other formations and community organizations that's coming out of the New African Independence Movement. I'm a conscious New African citizen of the Republic of New Africa. If you don't know what that is, you can Google it and things of that nature to get a better education on what we mean by the Republic of New Africa, the New African Independence Movement, and things of those nature. Some of this you actually want to hear in this statement for our 1-year anniversary. Also, I just want to thank y'all for coming out, for supporting Shaka, supporting this effort that we're trying to build and continue to build for the years to come and things of that nature to unify our community for ourselves, by ourselves, being a self-determined more people and stuff like that. Shout out to Unity in Action, who also co-sponsor this. Shout out to our comrade, Brother Darren, for being here as well. And here's the statement right here. It's called the New African Freedom Campaign, Black Community Self-Governance, Self-Determination towards National Liberation. In the spirit of resistance and national liberation during Juneteenth 2025 in Richmond, Virginia, it marked more than a commemoration of Juneteenth. It became a launching ground for a renewed struggle. Juneteenth, the historic observation of the end of chattel slavery in 1865, has long symbolized freedom that's been illusion and more so an oppressed, colonized, second-class citizenship under the U.S. empire. It's truly unfinished liberation for the new African nation and new African people, reminding us that the formal end of slavery did not end colonial domination, exploitation, or captivity. Across the city of Richmond, from cultural celebrations to political gatherings, the energy of Juneteenth 2025 reflected a deeper truth. Freedom must be organized, defended, and defined by the people themselves. It is within this historical and political context that the New African Freedom Campaign, NAFC, emerged as a necessary vehicle for advancing the struggle of new African people. The NAFC is not simply an organization, it's a mass line, a political instrument designed to connect the conditions of the people to a program of national liberation. Rooted in the legacy and heritage of the Republic of New Africa and the broader New African Independence Movement, the NAFC carries forward the demand for land for the New African Black community, self-governance, sovereignty, and self-determination. It builds upon decades of organizing, from the fight of political prisoners to the development of institutions and revolutionary political education. Central to the NAFC's vision is the development of community-liberated zones, spaces where new African people exercise real control over the political, economic, and social life of our communities. These zones represent more than theory, they are practical expressions of self-determination where we begin to govern ourselves in the present while building toward full nationhood. Within these liberated zones, the NAFC advances self-governance, structures rooted in the will of the people, the community assembles, local leadership bodies, and grassroots institutions that reflect our values, culture, and collective interests. This is organized by us, for us, independent of systems that have historically oppressed and marginalized our people. These efforts are guided by New African political science, which provides the ideological and organizational framework to transform scattered conditions into coordinated struggle. Through political education, economic cooperation, and collective decision-making, the NAFC seeks to build dual power, strengthening our capacity to meet our needs while advancing the broader fight for independence. Back in Juneteenth 2025 in Richmond at the Wesley Memorial United Methodist Church, therefore stands as a founding moment, a convergence of history, consciousness, and action. It represents a transition from remembrance to mobilization, from symbolic freedom to organized struggle, rooted in national liberation, history, culture, politics for the Richmond Black community. The NAFC arises from a clear understanding that the conditions facing new African people, displacement, mass incarceration, economic exploitation, and political marginalization are not accidental, but are products of a colonial relationship that must be eradicated and revolutionized through scientific, intentional, practical, new African kazi work. and umoja, unity. We must organize amongst ourselves. From this foundation, the campaign seeks this: to unite new African people across regions, conditions beginning specifically in our community of Richmond, Virginia. Build mass political education through New African political science, develop and defend the community through liberated zones, advance self-governance and independent institutions. Organize campaigns that directly confront the structures of oppression in Richmond. Move the people toward independence and nationhood. Address our internal violence issues that plague our communities that we see 24/7, 365 displayed in the Richmond community. Juneteenth reminds us that freedom was not given on that date, but guided under second-class citizenship. We know from our ideological father, Malcolm X, in martyrdom, standing the truth that true freedom is based on land, self-governance. The NAFC carries that same spirit forward, insisting that the next phase of the struggle must be intentional, collective, and rooted in self-determination by us, for we are our own liberators. And so forth, from the soil of Richmond, from the memory of our ancestors, and from the conditions of present reality, the New African Freedom Campaign moves forward toward liberation, toward sovereignty, and toward realization of a new African nation. We know that nationhood first stages begin in our household, the community. If we can't organize our neighborhoods amongst ourselves, creating these liberated zones and spaces safe for our people to create political power together, then there's no way we can say we want our own independent nation. In closing, this is the declaration and the political platform, the preamble of the NAFC. We, the new African people, descended of African people forcefully brought to this land and forged through centuries of resistance, declared our collective responsibility to the struggle for liberation of our people and the restoration of our national dignity. Rooted in the principles of New African political science and the historical struggle of the New African Independence Movement, we recognize that the conditions facing New African communities, mass incarceration, economic exploitation, political repression, and social displacement are the result of an ongoing colonial relationship imposed upon our people. These are our principles. 1, self-determination. 2, independence and nationhood. 3, New African political science. 4, support for political prisoners and prison activists. 5, community-based building. 6, mass political education classes. 7, collective responsibility and leadership. 8, resistance to state repression. 9, international solidarity, Pan-Africanism. 10, freedom and liberation. In conclusion, the New African Freedom Campaign exists to mobilize our people toward a historic mission of liberation through organization, political education, and collective struggle. We aim to strengthen the movement for self-determination and advance the cause of New African independence and nationhood. The future of our people depends on our willingness to organize, struggle, and build these institutions necessary to secure our freedom. Free the land.
Thank you, Brad. All right, free the land. Before we get started to Shaka's statement, I wanted to see if Unity in Action, y'all want to present a statement at this point in time. Good to go. Okay. All right.
Hi, y'all. Revolutionary greetings. This is Haki Kweli political prisoner, currently held at Lewisburg Correctional Center. Just want to send out some love and some solidarity and some support on this particular day, this special day. I just want to introduce you all to New African Freedom Campaign, which you all can go on IG and look up and tap into. We trying to build a movement out here, VA around prisons, prison abolition, prison reform, understanding, connected to the historical struggles that we've always had in terms of this on the plantations, whether it's in the field, whether it's in the house, whether it's in the new plantation of the day, which is the penitentiary, and the